Good morning or good afternoon, depending on what part of the country you're in. I'd like to welcome you to our Insure WebEx webinar. And also I'd like to give a thank you, a big warm thank you to Target Leads for the support they've given to have you attend today, for those of you that responded that way. Anyway, I would think today we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be about 40-45 minutes. About halfway through, we'll open up some questions. We'll give you an opportunity to do that. And at the very end, I may have some time left to take additional questions. So to begin with, what I'd like to do is give you a quick little background about who I am and what I do for the people that may not be aware of who I am. My name is Don Runge, and I'm known as the lead guru in a lot of areas around the country, or known as Don. So what I'd like to do is tell you very quickly so you know where I'm coming from. I started the business almost 49 years ago. Started as an agent, manager, regional manager, president, built a couple of multi-million-dollar marketing companies. And from there, the last 20-some years, I've been a consultant in the insurance industry. I'm married. I live in Plano, Texas. We moved from Chicago back in 1974. I have 3 children, 6 grandchildren, and we're very excited about living in Plano, Texas. You may know that's the tackle box capital of the world here, I guess, or at least of the United States. So as you're doing, as you're looking today, as we're going through everything, I think what's going to be fun is I'm going to try to take my background and break things in very simplistic terms to you all. I think it's important for us to look at today when we're dealing with the senior market. And being a senior myself, I think I can now really envision how to market and what to do in the senior market, being one of many millions of people now that have turned 65 or older. So as you go through today, what I like is a couple of points I'm going to make. We are going to be recording the session today, and you will get a copy of that recording. And I know people come and question, so what kind of companies have you done work for? Well, I've done companies like Bankers Life and Liberty National, Torchmark Corporation, Kemper, American Senior Benefits. Probably the top 60 companies or IMOs and insurance companies that operate in the senior market exclusively, I in one shape or form have probably done work for them, and maybe some of you have seen me in the past. So I just want to give you that background so that you know that you may be getting some information from people today that really have some insight into what may be going on. Now, I'm not going to answer and solve all your problems today or questions or challenges, but I think what you're going to find out also is the kind of things that we do in the industry and that I do. You can always go to our website if anytime you'd like to. It's leadguru.com, and you can go back in that website and take a look at the different types of training programs we have. We do recruiting. We do a lot of activity, prospecting. We also have a pre-license program, and we do continuing education online. And we've got some great partners that we actually provide this for you. So please take advantage of that sometime today or in the future. If you got any of those questions, just please make them back to us for sure. And the CE program is outstanding. It's with webce.com, one of the biggest providers in the country. So with that kind of a quick background and a little bit of insight into who I am and what I do, I think the main thing is we're going to make a special offer, by the way, at the end. We're going to allow you to take and have an advantage of purchasing at the end of the webinar an unusual offer. It's about a 50% discount in one of our major programs that we offer in training. And I think that the rest of it is you'll see for itself. And there'll be a special price at the very end. When you're done, you can do that. There'll be a website that you can go to and pick that up. It'll only be available for about 48 hours. So with that in mind, let me just talk to you about what we're going to do here. We're going to talk about prospecting strategies. Now, I want to talk a lot about turning 65, but I want to talk to you about some basic strategies that I think are just important as I set up this webinar today. And I say these things to anyone when I'm out coaching or working. I always come back. And you may know these already, but I want to simplify them because they're very important. Don't just buy leads and start to call them. Take a minute to determine when you want to work. And so when you cluster your activity, decide where you're going to work first. These are all simple things, but I find agents sometimes don't realize and recognize that they're not doing these things. Think about what you see or read in the newspaper or watch on TV or online. There's a lot of great stuff that comes out that you can use, a key phrase or whatever, to get the pulse of the market. With all the advertising going on today, our job, in my opinion, is actually easier to get appointments than it was years ago, because the media does so much information about the senior market, the challenges they have. So form a strategy. Determine the best time to call. And there are good times to call. Saturday morning, for example, one of the best times to call if you want to actually find seniors home. Great strategy. Why would I call in the afternoon when they're not going to be there and talk to an answering machine? Simple things like that. Determine what you're going to say. Now, this is kind of silly. I'm going to talk a lot about this today. But professionals really memorize their scripts. Amateurs ad lib. So it's important that you really write your script out. I'm going to give you a sample of one today and master it. Do it enough times where it becomes automatic so you don't sound robotic like a bad telemarketer. And then identify some key buzzwords or power phrases that seniors, when they hear those words, it could be just a word, you'll get their attention. They'll actually respond to you better because you're going to hit what I call their hot button. And those are some general prospecting strategies. And I'm going to try to break some of this down for you. But those are key. Let's just talk about the mindset of working somebody turning 65. And that's what a lot of agents work, is a turning 65 market. They call it the market. It doesn't mean you can't work turning 66s and 67s and 68s. Seniors are living longer than ever before, as we all know. They're buying insurance at older ages, which we never thought was even going to be possible when I first got in the insurance business. Even the actuaries are really looking to do policies and insuring people beyond the age of 100 for life insurance and things like that. So it's really exploding healthcare crisis and retirement crisis that we're facing. So why is turning 65 such a great way to get started? Well, because people buy medical insurance. They've had group insurance most of their life. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And they've been paying premiums they're not even aware of. They don't know the cost of their insurance from their group plan because they just pay it. It's like a mortgage payment. They don't look at it, they just pay it. And a lot of times companies were reimbursing them for part of that. And it used to be almost 100%. Then it went to 50%. Now in a lot of cases, it's just 25%. But they think they're getting a great deal on their group plan, and sometimes they are. But the average person coming off a major med plan really is over a $500 annual premium they're paying for that health insurance. That doesn't cover the spouses in most cases. So when somebody's going to buy medical insurance, everybody wants it. You're hearing about Obamacare right now. You're hearing about all the changes going to happen. This gets the market disturbed. It's like doing something to disturb the fish when you want to go fishing. You don't just sit there and let the water. You do things to disturb them. You move the bait. You move the line. You change the position. This is what's happening when you're talking about seniors who want that health insurance. Everybody wants health insurance. There's protest about it. So you don't have to tell people how important it is. And turning 65 gives them a chance to have two birthdays that year, their chronological birthday and their medical birthday. And we all know why 65 is important, because the insurability factor, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's important. And money really isn't a factor. You have to get that mindset changed. Money is not a factor when they're turning 65. In fact, I say to you, they probably have more money available at 65 to buy insurance than they had at 64, because they're going to pay less for the Medicare insurance. Their Medicare supplement will be a less charge than their major medical was. Because the average major med policy, even MAs and whatever, are not $500 and $600 a month. But their group insurance was. And yet they're going to have the same or better benefits for less money. So in a sense, it's really not a factor, but it could be in the agent's mind that since seniors are retiring, they won't have money. People that retire have money, generally. There are some that don't, but the majority really do have money freed up from the insurance that they've been paying for, their life insurance, their health insurance. When that goes away, and most people don't convert it, they actually have freed up money to buy insurance. And with the government subsidizing their Medicare, they're paying less for it than they did in most cases under major medical. So don't get duped. Don't get this false perception that because they're retiring, they don't have money. To further illustrate that, think who is going to casinos gambling? Who's going to the riverboats gambling? Who's going to Las Vegas 2 times a year? Who takes 2 and 3 cruises a year? It's either we in the insurance business on 1 cruise a year we take because we won a convention or an award, and the seniors are going 3 or 4 times. And they're going 2 and 3 times a week to the gambling casinos in a lot of cases. That's what keeps Las Vegas going. So don't get these false perceptions in your mindset. Your mindset has got to be a real positive thing. My job is to find those seniors and meet those seniors and help those seniors. Paying higher premiums, like I told you, at 64, you're gonna find out that really it's a blessing when you turn 65, like I found out. I probably had the biggest the most money available to me And the only other time in my life that was probably true is when my kids quit driving and I was paying for their car insurance, and when they were in college. Once that got out of the way, I had a big infusion of capital. In a lot of cases, the same thing is happening, not quite as severe, when somebody turns 65. There's one thing in your mindset that's highly important. You really have to recognize our healthcare crisis in America. Unless you've never turned on the TV or never went on the internet, never did anything there, and you've been living somewhere in the blind, you know there's a healthcare crisis in America. It's not going to go away. It's on TV every day. This disturbs the senior. They're not sure what their rights and options are. They're not sure what's going on, but they think everything's being taken away from them. Social Security is being taken away. Health insurance has been taken away. Life insurance has been taken away. And they get this in their head because perception becomes reality. What you hear is what you say. What you say is what you believe. Say it 3 times and it's a law. So you have to remember, they don't know who to confide in. They don't go to their children because their children don't understand Medicare. They don't understand all the things we're talking about. All they do is go to their friends or neighbors or go to the senior center and talk about it. So there's a lot of information out there right now that they misinterpret. They're not sure what it really is. What are my rights? What should I really do? Who do I trust? Who do I confide in? So the mindset you have to have is trying to understand where the senior's coming from. Don't put your mindset, don't put your values over theirs. Don't put your opinions over theirs. Understand where they're coming from. It's critical. You must act like they act, walk like they walk, talk like they talk. You have to understand it to form better communication. It's not just call them up, rate them, quote them, sell a policy. That's changing. Seniors are studying things more today. Seniors are interested. They have events in their life that come up all the time. And some of the best times to contact these seniors is an event. Turning 65 is an event that they only have one time in their life. And that's a major event. I call those event leads. So a turning 65 lead is an event lead. It's like a birthday lead. It's like an anniversary lead. It's like a CD expiration date. It's like a marriage. It's like birth. Those are key events in people's lives. If and when you contact them close to that event, it causes a higher appointment ratio and a higher closing ratio. So you have to find out those key dates during 365 days a year when it's better for you to contact those people. So the mindset you have is understanding the market, understanding what really gets that market excited. It's not really price. It's not really product. It really isn't premium. It really is passion to help a person understand you're on a mission to make a difference in their life and help them, and get this, help them navigate through the healthcare retirement crisis in America. And you better take care of their healthcare first. Because if you take care of their healthcare, they're going to talk to you for a long time. You're a very important cog in their final years of life. So it's real critical that you understand the mindset. And don't try to let people talk you out of it that the seniors don't have money and the seniors are broke and seniors only buy on price. Somebody's putting false perceptions in your mind. Seniors control more money than any other market in the United States of disposable income. They're the ones that have the checking accounts and savings accounts. Younger people don't. They're living from paycheck to paycheck, credit card to credit card. The seniors have saved money. They come out of that mindset that they don't spend money, they try to save money. And they're always going to tell you they're broke, they don't have any money, they wear the same clothes when you see them unless they're going gambling or on a cruise. So understand this. Get to know the market first so you set the right mindset, especially when they're turning 65. Now, when they turn 65, there's a create a sense of urgency. And marketing comes a big play in this, not selling. Marketing becomes a major tool. And I have a slogan that I use in some of the material that I do. I talk about learn how to market your way in, sell your way out, and refer yourself back forever. Seniors are one of the best marketing organizations or markets in America to generate a relationship, which is how you get referred leads. You really don't establish referred leads by selling somebody. You do it by creating a relationship. So you must have to adjust your mindset to take more of a marketing approach to people, which we're going to show you on some of the phone approaches I'm going to talk about today. Marketing people are liked. Salespeople are questioned. Marketing people make it seem good, make it feel better. TV advertising, an awful lot of marketing. Excuse me, get a little water here. When you watch TV commercials, they're more marketing and approach than they are sales and approach, because people love that. If you watch the last Super Bowl, $5 million for a 30-second ad that was marketing. Hope you all remember the ad a couple of years ago. It was like $3 million for 30 seconds, and it was a baby being shot out of a diaper to grab a bag of Doritos. Got the highest usage and response after 6 months that ad was run. It got the highest rating. Marketing. Nothing, didn't say Doritos cost $1.50 a bag. So marketing is a real key thing from your mindset. When I say that, I always recommend when you're new in the business, and I say new, not because you just got a license, new because maybe you've at the business and you've only accomplished 20 or 25 policyholders in a year or 30. I would not be asking health qualifying questions when I'm calling a perfect stranger on the phone. Mindset tells me that if you're acting like a doctor who's the only one really that's going to ask those questions, and they usually won't talk to you by phone, you got to go and see them, we sometimes put in our head that I'm allowed with no medical degree to ask people health questions over the telephone to qualify people. Seniors are pretty smart. You start asking about their health and how they're doing, do they have a checking account, they'll shut you down in a second because they've been around long enough to know somebody really shouldn't be asking me those questions. You don't know from Adam. And with today's protect everything, don't talk to strangers, watch out what you're doing, all the stuff going on, all the stuff you hear about people taking advantage of people. Do you think this is the environment or mindset you want to have to a market that's skeptical already and is more skeptical now than they've ever been in their lifetime? So you've got to be careful of that. I call that ready, fire, blow your foot off, blame the gun. So think about that. If you really want to reduce your activity, then ask a lot of health questions, and you'll have a couple appointments a week maybe. Freedom of choice. You know, right now, the sense of urgency, people want freedom of choice. They want you want limited or unlimited plans. You want limited or unlimited options. People want to talk about rights, options, and entitlements. Who doesn't want to talk about that? They want to know what their rights are. Do they have a right to buy this or not buy this? What plan should they buy? Do they get the basic plan or the comprehensive plan? They want to know basic English language. They're not interested in a lot of insurance jargon or terminology that scares them. Underwriters need to know what plan you sold them. The senior wants to know, if I go to the doctor, am I going to pay anything? Am I going to be covered? If I leave the state, am I going to be covered? They want to know the real basic essentials in 8th grade plain English. They don't want to get in here and inundated with complicated and confusing terminology. They just want to know they can trust you and the plan is going to do what they want it to do. So there are limited plans, there are unlimited plans. I always ask a senior when I'm talking to them, well, it's already bought, that's great. Did you buy the limited or unlimited plan? Did you buy the basic plan or the comprehensive plan? Did you buy the government plan or the non-government plan? They need to have things presented to them, in my opinion, that they understand the words and they can't figure out why they can't answer the question. The person who asks good questions is in control of the conversation, not the person talking. And that's hard for us to understand in the insurance business. I've struggled with that for years and years and years. I'm getting better at it, but I still struggle. But create the sense of energy. There's a healthcare crisis. If I told you tsunami was coming in 1 week, you can either listen to that, you can delay it, or you can get out of the area or get the high ground. Because what's happening is the crisis is not just something that's terminology. It's not a marketing ploy. It's real with the number of people uninsured, the number of people that have pre-existing conditions, the number of people who don't think they can have choice of doctor or hospital. They want the same kind of coverage they had when they had their group insurance. So remember, they're looking for that. They don't know how to ask the questions. So be careful and allow them freedom of choice. Create a sense of urgency, time-sensitive decision. I think it's great to let seniors know it's a time-sensitive decision when they're turning 65. If they don't react within a period of time, they're going to have some underwriting questions asked. And most of the seniors don't want to go through underwriting. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They don't feel comfortable about doing that. You know what my opinion is about that? Because they might not find something wrong. That's why the older you get, the less you want to go to a doctor and have a physical. I always thought about before I went to the doctor, I better buy insurance if I need it, because who knows what's going to happen next time I go. So it's time sensitive. It can run away. So when I'm talking to people, I need to come out and see you because I got some time sensitive things I need to talk to you about. And you've got a right to know the limitations that there are and your options that are available. So you want to get into the marketing type mindset when you want to set appointments, gain more activity, gain trust quickly, and have more people that want to allow you to cross their doorstep. If you go the other way, that what I was trained in the insurance business, call them, try to sell them, quote premiums, get health questions asked, and have very few appointments. And the reason agents fail in this business is not because of product. We got product manufacturers all over the place. It's really not a lot of times about training. It's because you really don't understand the marketing side of the business. We don't teach marketing courses in insurance. We teach product and rating. We teach insurance terminology. But the market really is more sensitive to the marketing approach. Now, create a sense of urgency. One more thing, subsidize the healthcare. The reason it's so great is because I always tell them, thank the government because they're helping pay for some of this coverage, more than they were before. So now helping you out, they are doing things for you. They are putting money back into it so you're allowed to get reasonable premiums. So I don't knock the government and say, the government's really, I talk to them and say, your plan's being subsidized. That's great. They're trying to help you get through this last, 30-year lifetime and live in comfort and have all those benefits you used to have when you work for a company. So subsidized healthcare is not a problem. It's been around, and they're going to continue to subsidize, I would hope, for years to come. So there's a sense of urgency. Let's get the subsidized. Let's make a good time-sensitive decision. Let's figure out whether you want, comprehensive coverage, limited coverage, unlimited coverage. What do you want? But let's talk about their needs and what's important to them as opposed to products that we sell, whether it's MA, whether it's Med Advantage, or whether it's Med Supps, whether it's Plan F or Plan G. They're lost in all that. They really need to know, do you want coverage in-state or out-of-state? If you go out of the country on a vacation, are you going to be covered? They want those simple things. And we tell them is, and the next thing I'll tell you is, I like to quote premiums, suggest that to you in the senior market, on so much per day, not so much per month. So if I said could you afford $6 or $7 a day out of your fixed income, as opposed to $180 to $200 a month, it really doesn't shock them as much. The reason you have to look at that is they don't know what they've been paying for the last 25 years because it came out of payroll deduction at work. So when you haven't anybody pay premiums that they really understood what they were for years, you shock them with a $200 or $300 premium, you'll scare them to death. Let me get an example. I don't buy a lot of jeans. I'm an older guy, so I went to the store back several months ago and I was going to buy some new, we used to call them overalls, but now called jeans, I guess. And I went into the store and a young lady said, can I help you? I said, yeah, I want to buy a couple pair of jeans, or, we used to call them overalls. Do you have any? She showed me a couple and I said, I want these, but I don't want any holes in them. They should be sewed. What's with that? She said, sir, when's the last time you had bought a pair of jeans? I said, about 25 years ago. She said, well, the ones that the holes cost more. And I said, well, my grandmother used to put patches anytime we had a hole. I'm sorry, sir, that's the new style. And I said, well, good, they're probably less money. She said, no, they're $85 a pair. I was in shock. I could afford the money, but my mental says that I didn't buy jeans in a long time. I thought it was overpriced, so I got nervous about it. And I didn't understand. So take that to heart. Now, why don't we stop here for a couple minutes? If you have some questions, I'll take a deep breath, get a glass of water, and I would like to just answer any questions I might right now. Take 3 or 4 questions if you have any. I usually don't get a lot of questions because I cover everything real well. I think we got a couple coming in. I'll put my glasses on. It might help me too if I can see them. Charles, that's okay. Well, Charles, I know where you come from here, but Charles, good question. When's the best time to contact a Medicare prospect about a Med Supp? So I came in late. Hey, no problem with you. You probably didn't miss anything. I just talked about myself. But Charles, the good question about that, yeah, I think to contact the prospect about Med Supp, I like to start early. I talk in pre-Medicare stuff like 64. Good time to start doing things. If you can get to the customer prior to 64 and a half, you've got an advantage over everybody else in the insurance market. There's no reason why you can't talk to somebody earlier than 65 and get them prepared for that journey they're going to go on. So I always like to make that relationship, if at all possible, to people prior to 64 and a half. All right, anonymous viewer asked, anonymous, well, okay. Are you referring mostly to supplements? I mean, regardless. I mean, I know there's a lot, all the laws are a little bit different about the MAs and MAPDs and whatever, and you've got to do direct mail and get responses back and those type of things. I'm talking more about the Medicare supplement program at the beginning here. But you know, you got to follow all the guidelines when you're doing the MAPs and all those type of things. And when you're still going back into there, I can address that a little bit later, but mainly I'm talking about the Medicare supplement market right now. What's the best, who's this, Steve? Steve Lieber, good. Thanks for the question, Steve. What was best to start a telephone presentation? I'm gonna go into a telephone script here when we get off a break and ask you questions. I'll go through that and give you an example of a couple of scripts that really work, and I use them on a regular basis. Next question was, in my area, it's very competitive. How do I get a sense of urgency 6 to 8 months before they turn 65? I think the best thing you want to do, depending on what are the products you sell, is you start to what I call preheat the market. You know, we're already being preheated by the literature. They start getting literature very early, and they're already preheated. The best thing you can do is come out and say, look, I'd like to get out in advance and talk to you a little bit, prepare you for all this material you're going to receive. And I can help you get through all this material. It's going to be very confusing and all the quotes you're going to get and things like that. I'd like to just meet you and see if I can help you guide through all the confusion that you're going to face. So I'd like to come by, just meet you, shake your hand, and see if I can earn the right to help you through this question and answer period. What would be a good marketing plan for T65? When's the best time to start marketing to them? Well, I think I answered part of that already. The best time to start marketing as soon as you can in that 64 market. Michael, I'll take one more question. What would be a good market? I'm sorry, let me go back here. Sarah, in my area, it's very competitive. How do I create a sense of urgency 6 months out? I think you do that by the trust that you form with people. I think it's by the relationship you start, by meeting those people as early as you can, whether it's a seminar at the senior center, informational seminar just to get people's attention. I think you do as much as you can to preheat, I call it preheat, pre-select those people and precondition them that you're the person they ought to talk to. It's like doing, like I'm in surgery like 6 months out. Well, it's good to be talking to the doctor, letting me read about things, show me a video, et cetera, et cetera. How do I handle call reluctance? I missed that question. How do I handle call reluctance to come in after a remote long-term care insurance presentation when you're not physically in the home? I mean, Phil Garrett. Okay, Phil. How do you handle reluctance to commit after doing a remote long-term care insurance presentation when not physically in their home? Well, that's going to take a longer answer on this. I think that one of the things you want to do, long-term care is a lot longer tail, a lot harder to do, a lot more health questions, et cetera, et cetera. I think you first of all let them identify multiple needs, not just one need. I think when you're a healthcare crisis going on, that could be a solution to short-term care, long-term care, could be Medicare, could be a lot of different things. So I think a fact finder is your way to condition you that if you're stuck in one place, you can pivot to another, but a fact finder is essential whether you do it by phone or in the home. One more question, Ken Morrell. Do you usually just set appointments by phone or you still just to visit in the home? Oh yeah, obviously. The best place to do if you can is cross that doorstep because nonverbal communication is 85 to 90% of communication. So the more you can cross that doorstep, the more you actually have things in your favor. The telephone is a lot of times, if you're trying to sell, just to hang up and get off the phone or just tell you yes and not do anything. So obviously, in my opinion, it's better to get in the home any chance you get. Now, we've got a bunch of other questions. I'm going to hang on to those to see if I can answer some more at the end or if I have to email you later on. So let's get back to it. We're going to talk about the next part. 3 keys to focus on. I call them attention getters. Props are very important in starting communication. In the Medicare and U-Book, that to me is one of the best marketing tools you have to create dialogue, to create additional early on conversations. And it's a government document. They mail it to the seniors every year. We used to deliver it as agents by law. They stopped that. So now the government document is being sent to the seniors every year, supposedly in January. A lot of seniors, I think you'd believe with me, throw the book away, don't read the book. It's complex, it's confusing, there's too many pages. So they get to the point right now where they go, I'm not going to read this book. I need some simplicity. I can't understand what they're talking about. And it's over 100 and some pages in my opinion. And it is complex and confusing to a person that's never been in the insurance business. We go to training classes to understand what's in that booklet. Seniors don't go to training classes on it. There's really 3 or 4 key pages in that book, in my opinion, that they really need to know, and it spells out their rights and options and entitlements. And more importantly, their limitations of what they're going to get from Medicare. Because a lot of people are under the impression of beginning early on that Medicare covers everything. It doesn't. We all know that. And so people don't understand that, but they go in blind and think, oh yeah, I'll get all my insurance coverage just like I had at work. Excuse me. But it doesn't work that, and then they get surprised. That booklet is the best visual I think you can ever want to have. I take that to the home. I take my copy to the door. I show them that booklet. And when you see the phone approach we use, we tie into that booklet because that's what we're going to come out and go over. That's what the government says. The law tells you this is what you're entitled to. And the sad part, they're entitled to very little, and that's basically a little part of Medicare, or a little part of health insurance. So it's real important that you go through that and highlight those key pages and show them what those options are, because one day those options could run out due to health or wealth or a health condition. So this is a major decision to them, and the government provides them that booklet. And they think somebody's going to come out and explain that. Well, Social Security doesn't do it. Medicare doesn't do it. We're the licensed professionals that can make that understandable in plain English. So it's a great prop. So when you go out there, you're not from Medicare, and they're going to think you are sometimes. You're not from the government. You are a licensed professional that can come out and go over that and explain it in plain English. So they're going to know what those options are and how they can respond to them. So that's one of the keys to focus on. Another one of the keys to focus on as we go through this would actually be material complex and confusing. The terminology that you can use from that booklet is another key to focus on. Back in the early days when Medicare first came out, that booklet was less than 50 pages. And there was a box in the very first page before you read the material. There was a disclaimer that was actually in there that said, you're going to find this information complex and confusing. I couldn't believe it said that. When I saw that, that was a major thing I continued to use every time I would talk to seniors, saying, look, I know this material is complex and confusing, and I'll get together with you and simplify it in plain English so you can decide what rights and options are important to you. So that booklet, again, is one of the keys to focus on because it has these key phrases in there. It has power words and buzzwords that you can use that will get the attention of the seniors you're talking to. So it's not like saying, let me come by, let me give you a quote, let me show you got the best rates, we got the best policies. Well, they know everybody doesn't have all that. You can't go out and say, I got the worst product, I got the highest rates, but you're going to like me. So in this thing, most plans are competitive. Seniors usually don't buy on price. Agents try to close on price. Seniors want to know what it costs. And they're always going to seem surprised that it costs that much. But when you're not paying the kind of money you paid even on your group insurance and getting more benefits, they just need to understand why it's a good buy, why it's in their best interest, why it's one of the best plans you could ever have, and it frees up other money that you've been paying for in your group plan. And the government's helping you out to free this money up so you can take some of those senior concerns and needs you have. So it's just not all about Medicare and Medicare supplement. It's about forming a healthcare program that's going to allow you to navigate and get through some of these tough times and protect you for pennies on a dollar. So that's another thing that's very important to you. I think the other one is, these are words you hear me say several times: rights, options, entitlements, limitations. Your phone approaches, your front door approaches, I would envision to you, say to you, and if I'm out there working with you, these are key things to incorporate when you're having these conversations. Because I'm not talking about long-term care and short-term care or Medicare supplement. I'm talking about what's in it for you on your radio station. As a senior, do you not want to know your rights, your options? Entitlements is a major word. And really you shock them and saying, I'm also going to point out some limitations. Because all plans have limitations, and they're going to be there, and they're not bad. You just need to know what they are. So if you're doing certain health plans, they're not going to cover you out of state. They're not going to cover you out of the country. They're not going to cover you on vacation. You won't have choice of doctor or hospital. Doesn't it make it a bad plan? No, it just has some limitations some of the other plans don't have. And you've got a right to know what those other plans are and what those other options and rights are. So you're really educating and helping out that senior to form trust and bond the relationship. Because remember, not there to sell a policy, we're there to build a relationship. And relationship marketing allows you to go back and offer other services and solve other needs over a period of time. But if you're just in it to sell a policy, then obviously what I'm talking about won't have any interest to you. But if you're in it to build relationships, if you're in it to retire with those clients and build clients rather than policyholders, which have multiple policies in the same house, then what I'm talking about has a lot of merit. So it's important on that again. As you go through the senior market and you start to see more of this, that Medicare and You book is highly important. I just say to myself, why aren't more people using that booklet? I don't get it. I really don't. So looking at this, and I don't know, I got a little stuck in my computer. I apologize. I've got a button that's not working. Well, the mechanical errors always happen. Michelle? But I don't know what went wrong. We had a little problem earlier. I thought we got it corrected. But we'll try to move on here and that's done. If we don't, I'll just move on without it here. But I hope the slides are still showing up for you. Great. Then you got your benefits and your choices and flexibility. So again, these are all the things that are key factors that you can focus on in your conversations with the market, whether it's a turning 65 or even 66 or 67. So use some of that. Try that out. Look and read. Listen to listen when you're on TV. Listen to what they're saying to you. Read material on this thing. Read that Medicare and You book. I dare say a lot of agents in the senior market that when I quiz them my training sessions have never read the Medicare and You book cover to cover and have never used it in a house with a senior. I say I think that's something you're missing out on that could change the way you market to that marketplace. So again, it's a mindset. Thanks, I got some great help here. Now, the last thing I'd say to you is partial or complete. I use this all the time. Mrs. Jones says, already got a plan. Great. Did you buy the partial or complete plan? Gee, I don't know. Well, good. We need to get together. Let me take a look. That opens the door for you when they can't answer your question. It's a simple question. They want to know whether they got the full meal or the partial meal. Am I just going to get a hamburger? Are you going to give me fries? And are you going to give me some coleslaw? Are you going to give me something else? They want to know what they can get. And most people don't want a partial plan. They want a complete plan. Now, if they want a partial plan, that's okay. But most of the time they don't. When they buy something, they think it's a complete plan. So you always have that opportunity from a marketing standpoint. Now, let me get into this. Some people ask me, Don, what do you say to them? I've got really hundreds of phone approaches. One that I love to use, and I just did a phone session here a couple of weeks ago, and we used this phone approach. And we had a group of agents together, and in a period of 3 hours with about 25 to 30 agents calling into that senior market, and we were doing more than just 65s, we scheduled over 200 appointments in 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So this is not something I'm making up that just says, hey, here's something I had to put on the slide for you today. If you look at this script, it's not written like an insurance agent's going to write it because it doesn't talk about qualifying anybody. Because here's the point. If I don't have the appointment, who's not qualified? And mine's that senior, I'm not qualified to get in your house. I have to get in your house. Then you have to be qualified for me to get out and do anything for you. Here, I just have one question to ask. Do you remember, Mr. Jones, this is Don Runge calling, how you doing? Great. I just have a question to ask you. Do you remember receiving your red, white, and blue book that the government's supposed to send out to you? They're going to say, well, yes, I did, or no, I did. And both are right answers. Oh, I did get it. Great. Then you probably didn't read. If you did, you probably got a lot of questions. No, I didn't get it. Well, it happens the post office sometimes doesn't get it out, or sometimes you think it's junk mail and you throw it away. My job is to get together with concerned seniors in your area to go over your rights, options, and entitlements as stated in that booklet. Now, I won't read all the pages, but I will make sure the information you need to know is covered and very understandable. So I get an opening tomorrow at 9:01 or 9:18, which is best for you. So that's the kind of approaches, and I have many more than that, that if you take that approach, you're going to see your appointment ratio go way up. And if you can schedule 5 or 8 more appointments than you ever had in a week, and even though if 3 or 4 of those kept, you can increase your sales by 1 to 2 a week. And the more times you cross the doorstep, the more times you have an opportunity to sell something and to build a relationship, even if they own a policy or they tell you you're uninsured, depending on what products that you offer them. And the worst thing that can happen to you, in my opinion, if you go, you're never going to know till you get there because they might be uninsurable and yet they have a bunch of people they know that are insurable, family, friends, people at church, that they're willing to share with you because you helped them. You made the attempt. You didn't just come there to sell them something. And if you build that relationship, they can be worth hundreds of dollars to you in doing lead drops. You're in a better lead situation. So that's very important to you. So I hope that gives you a little insight to at least one little approach that you could use. Now, the other thing that we're going to talk about last is handling objections. And I could go on and on with this. I don't really think there's such a thing as an objection unless you have somebody that's got a pit bull that hasn't been fed for years and a guy with a shotgun on the doorstep. I really don't believe that. I think you have what I call spontaneous responses. People just say things because they're supposed to say something and react when you say something. I said, oh, I just want to spend a couple, well, send me the information. Never told them I had information. They just made that up. So I asked them, what kind of information would you like to sell me, the partial or the complete? Well, I'm really not interested. Well, I'll try to be interesting, Mr. Jones. If I'm not, I'll leave in 5 minutes of your time. But I guarantee you most people think I'm interesting. Now, you can go on and on and on and on. The other person saying, hey, I really already got a plan. Whether you have a plan similar to the one you had at work or one with less choices and benefits. You're going to go, what do you mean? Well, I can get together with you. It won't take me long, but a lot of people find out that there are more choices than they thought they might have had. Do you want the least expensive option, or would you like the most coverage for the least amount of money? You want coverage, you want to pay more and get less, or would you like to pay less and get more? Well, I like less and get more. Great, let's cover that and see if you qualify. Do you want to have coverage out of state or out of the country, or it doesn't matter to you? You don't care if you're covered out of state. No, I care. Well, good, let's get together. So reacting to people when they say things, remember, when you say something and you pause, they think you want them to say something back. It doesn't have to make any sense. Remember, Seinfeld was built on nothing the entire program. So it doesn't have to make sense to you. So don't react like you have to memorize these long answers to objections. Be spontaneous. They say, I'm not interested. Look, I'm going to be in your area anyway, and I'll try to be interesting. I'm not, I'll leave fast. Or I'll just leave you with some information that if I'm not that interesting. Response to people spontaneously. Get one rebuttal that you really like and use it. I had a young lady we're training. She used to sell vacuum cleaners, 7 days a week, 7 nights. She came into the business, memorized a script very similar to what I showed you. No background at all, 24 years old. She set 25 appointments her first week using similar scripts. She had no reservation, and the only objection she would use, or the answer to a spontaneous response, is I'm going to be in your area anyway. People were saying, I'm not going to be home, so I don't care. I'll be in your area anyway. She kept 80% of her appointments. She had a 40% closing ratio. She won a straight commission in 6 months because she followed and memorized and rehearsed her marketing script or approach. That's how simple it's to become. Don't confuse it with product. Don't be product dominant. Be product dominant in the home. And I would say another last thing is use a fact finder. Now, with the time we got left, what I'd like to do and just kind of summarize some key points. And I think in summarizing the key points, I want you to remember, just have yourself number one mindset. I'm gonna have a script. I'm gonna memorize it. I'm gonna rehearse it. I'm gonna respond spontaneously. Set your appointments. Cluster the area where you're setting them in. Make sure that you got drop-by leads in case appointments are not there or you're in a quick interview. And make sure that you understand what's in that Medicare and U-book. All right, with that in mind, we told you we'd have a special offer for you all today that stayed on the seminar. I have a 5 hour, it's like 5 hour and a half. It's broken down to 8 parts. It talks to you everything about how to work leads, what type of leads to work. It talks about setting appointments at the door on the telephone, handling objections. It's a staple. It's recognized internationally. It's called Don Runge Live. That's going to be available to you. It's going to look something like this. It's going to be available to you at something I've never done before. And I promise you, we're going to discount it, and it's going to be a $59 program. And it's normally a $119 program. And so you're going to be able to get this once the seminar is over. It's good for 48 hours, the offer. It's a staple. We've got people that have used it for years. It works. We've got more than that just on the program. We've got a lot more than that. If you go to our website, leadguru.com, you'll find all the other training materials that we have. And they've all been field tested by more than one agent and more than one company. We've trained over 400,000 people. So go there, take a look at what's available. I also want to make sure I don't forget and be remiss in what I'm talking about, is that Target Leads has been very instrumental with Insure WebEx today to make sure we can provide this for you and offer you this type of, hopefully, an informational seminar or workshop that you can get information and glean. You should be able to walk out of here today, because you're going to get a copy, and make a difference in what you're normally doing with the number of appointments you set and the mind frame that you have. And it's important to set the correct mindset. So make sure you go there, take a look at it. The offer stands for 48 hours. It's a special price, and it's something that I think you can value and use for years. And if you have questions, you can always contact me back by email, or you can go back and go to our special website today that you're seeing up here, leadguru.com/product/webinar59 special. And go to that link and order today. And you got 48 hours. If you've got other questions, there's an 800 number that you can call. And when you get there, you get Michelle Tapp will answer that telephone, be the only person, and she can help you. And it's the only way to order that special. You can't order it off our website. So for 48 hours, you got to go to the one that's on your screen right now. And the Webinar 59 special, that's the only place you can go to get that. And so then you can also go to that link, and you can order. I really appreciate you being here today. I want to thank Insure WebEx. I want to also thank Richard Buffkin, Target Leads, and I'll try to answer a couple other questions. Chris Rundy, is there potentially any CMS fines an agent faces by using Medicare and your handbook? I would not, again, you have to follow the CMS guidelines. You have to follow the CMS guidelines when you're working into the Med Advantage program. I'm talking about Medicare, I'm talking about Med Sup programs. I'm talking about working turning 65s. When you get into the Medicare Advantage plans, you got to follow that set of guidelines. Yes, you do. Ken Thames, will there be a replay? I wasn't able to attend the whole seminar. There's going to be a tape. It's a tape session that will be sent out. We'll get your email and send it back to you. There'll be a tape of the entire session. Ken, I like what I'm hearing so far. Well, good. I like you too, Ken. Bill, do you know the pages? The hotline's ringing here. Bill, do you know the pages? Do you know the page in the Medicare and U book that you focus on with them? Yeah, it's one where you outline the plans that are offered through Medicare. I don't have them off to me because it varies by state. You have to read the Medicare and U book, and you'll see there's some real key pages that talk about rights and options, what's being covered, what's not being covered. Each state's got different amounts of pages in their books. I can't tell you offhand. I used to know Texas, but I haven't done it for a while, so you have to do that. I read your book years ago. Do you still use the Cherry system? I'm not sure, Albert, about that. I'm getting too old to remember that. Is there a script you use for direct mail leads? Yeah, there is. We have all kinds of scripts that we use, and I definitely have a script for direct mail leads. I have Target Leads. There's a lot of those scripts available through them also when you're buying their lead program. But I also have some, yes, to answer your question. You mentioned calling on Saturdays. What's the most ideal time to call? What it's been in years has been 9 to noon. And it really works because you're going to get more people home to answer. During the week, you'll get less people. But I can tell you, I've been doing some phone sessions over the last year, and I was amazed that we did one last week, and we got people home at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Couldn't believe it. So it varies depending on the weather conditions. If it says it's going to rain or storm, the seniors are home. So it can vary, but you take standard times or morning times, early evening times, and you want to avoid lunch or dinner times, and then, of course, on Saturdays. So you have to look at your marketplace and practice a little bit and find out in your market may be a little bit different for some reason. I did not sell any Medicare plans, according to Michael Broderick. Is there a lead program great for annuity salespeople also? I'm kind of spoiled because I know a lot of what's going on. I would always stop and charge, in my opinion, with Target the Lead first because they really have a great database and they do an awful lot in that arena for you, but there's other vendors out there. But I would check in with them as one of the ones you're going to research. I think I've answered most of them. Time's kind of getting down here to the last minutes. Tom, I see Kenneth, will there be a replay? Yes, Ken, there will not a replay. You've got a tape of this. I've answered the ones up here, so we can move through any other ones. I don't think I have any others that I've missed. Let me see. Richard, Mary Meadows, where did you say we get the tape of this session? It'll be emailed to you. It's going to be emailed out, Mary. Daryl, and 59 special doesn't include scripts. I have scripts on there. There's a workbook that comes with it, and I advise you get it, do the workbook. Play in your car. Take the CDs and play them in your car. and go through each section once. Then go back and replan for key things you want to remember and build into that workbook. Great question. How do I get the Medicare and U book? You can get it from the Social Security office. You can go online and want one printed, or get to your Social Security office and get a hard copy. Okay, the rest of the questions we'll try to answer. Go back again to leadguru.com, product of webinar special, 59 special. That's the link you need to go to. Any other questions, you go back to the 800 number here, 733-4878. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here. I appreciate everything you've done. You got 48 hours on the special. Thank you, and I look forward to some future webinars we're going to have. And great, let's have a great year. Thank you, goodbye.